Basically, this is our first series, and then to provide extra benefits to our subscribers. And we are very fortunate to have you here with us today. And to those of you who are not familiar with Ken, let me just give you guys a brief introduction. Ken is a certified Primal Blueprint health coach. He helps people lose weight, reverse disease, and gain confidence through the paleo lifestyle. Ken is also a podcast host on Discovering Paleo, where he interviews ordinary people whose lives were touched positively by the paleo lifestyle. So I'm so happy to have you here with us today. Welcome.
Thank you. Wow, I've never been introduced like that before.
I hope you liked the little intro.
Yes.
Yes. So let's just go straight into it. I know you've been, on a paleo diet for a while, and then you're very, very into this whole healthy paleo movement. So how did you actually start eating paleo, and then why paleo, not other diets?
Actually, I kind of stumbled on paleo. I was at a gym, a Muay Thai boxing gym, and and the owner was going to go do a professional fight in Vegas. This was a few years back. And she said, "Hey, I want the whole gym to do a 30-day paleo challenge to support me to go to Vegas." And I was like, okay, what the heck is paleo? But I'll do it. That's actually the first time that I actually heard about what paleo is. And ever since then, I learned a lot about low carb, high fat diets. A few years ago, even before that, maybe like 10 years ago, 12 years ago, I tried the low-fat diet. And I was so obsessed at one point. I was like, if I could do 0 fat all day, wouldn't I be like so skinny and healthy and whatever? And,
right.
And that didn't really work out very well.
I see.
And when other people would be doing the low-carb diet, I'd be laughing at them like, this is so stupid. I can't believe you're doing that. So I've come a long way since then. What set me on this new paleo journey is when I actually started watching this documentary called Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead, where a guy documents himself drinking nothing but vegetable and fruit juice for 60 days.
Right.
Now, he ended up losing a lot of weight. He ended up stopped taking his medicine. And obviously you can't drink fruit juice for the rest of your life. So I kind of started doing a lot of research on, okay, so now I know that food is actually really important. Medication isn't as important as people say it is. And how do I find a diet that is sustainable for the long term? And putting 2 and 2 together, watching that documentary, having the gym do a paleo challenge, that's when I really decided that paleo was the right way to go, and I've been hooked on it ever since. Now, obviously I'm not 100% perfect with paleo or anything like that, but I think it's a good template for people to start regaining their health, losing weight, being healthy, whatever, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep, absolutely. It sounds actually a little bit similar to how I discovered paleo as well, although I didn't have a 30-day challenge. When I discovered paleo, basically, mainly I wanted to lose some body fat percentage. I wasn't paying attention to what I eat for almost like a year. And went online to Google and research, and that's how I found the diet, and decided to give it a try. And ever since then, I've been loving it. But like you said, it's actually kind of difficult to do it 100% all the time. We have our social life, and sometimes, if you go back and see your mom, and the mommy is going to make some beautiful homemade dumplings. But in general, I think to me personally, whenever the situation is under my control, then I try to follow the paleo diet more strictly.
Yeah, me too. And if you look at my fridge right now, I have some leftover chicken in there. I try to make a few meals at once. So my fridge is really pretty good I won't show you some of the adult beverages in there, but in terms of food, I try to not have any non-paleo things in my house.
Right.
Now, if my mom cooks, 10 dishes of awesome fried Taiwanese food, I'm not going to say no. But I think of it as an indulgence, as kind of a treat.
Right.
I don't think of it as an everyday thing. So.
Right. I mean, what I usually do is I take a little mental note. It's like maybe a day before, maybe during the weekend, I saw some friends, ate something probably a little bit heavier than I would have liked. Then maybe the next day I was trying to adjust the course a little bit.
Yeah, that sounds like what I do also.
Right. And then since we talk about, the diet in terms of paleo is a low carb and high fat diet, it recalls like one of the readers, and she actually asked that, she actually has successfully lost quite a few pounds following the paleo diet lifestyle. But she's worrying about caloric intake, it's too high calories. I mean, what do you think about that?
Well, you can definitely get a little too obsessive about the caloric intake. I mean, if you eat normally and you eat until you're full and then you stop eating, I think you'll be fine. But what I've run into is that some people, they say, oh, okay, well, everything I'm eating is paleo, so I might as well eat triple of everything. And if you do that, I mean, a lot of people say, okay, well, all these books that I've read said, don't worry about counting calories. Don't worry about counting calories. As long as you eat the right foods, you're good. But there's definitely a limit. If you end up eating double and triple the amount of food that you'd be eating normally, I mean, it's obvious that something's gonna happen. Right. So you have to, if you don't want to count calories, that's fine, but you have to be normal about it. You have to be balanced and not be like, okay, well, I guess I should just drink a gallon of coconut oil because coconut oil is good for you.
Right, I think it's all about some balancing act, right? It's not all about meat. There are other vegetables, leafy greens, fibers that we need to add into our diet. Yeah. And especially to me, actually, during my gym day, I do very high intensity cardio and also some CrossFit activities. I actually try to make sure I have a little carbohydrate stuff that's basically from sweet potatoes or yam. And I personally actually am okay with a little bit white rice. So I make sure maybe I have a 2 to 3 tablespoon of white rice before I actually go into the gym. So I found that personally, to me, that's the best balance for myself. Yeah. So I think the answer is that, to a lot of people, they actually need to find your own balance. But just like you said, you shouldn't, because these are the foods at least they're okay to eat for paleo, and start eating that nonstop. Right. So that actually was my first mistake when I just starting out eating paleo, and I just didn't find I didn't really lose that much weight, and I feel like I probably gained a little weight. So I asked my husband what happened. So the first thing he said to me is well, did you actually eat 100% paleo? So when I starting out, I wasn't eating 100% paleo. And then later on, I started learning, how to adjust the course and then to actually help me achieve my health goals. Right. And then do you want to talk about a little bit of your getting the Primal Blueprint health coach certificate? And I know you're also working on a documentary currently. Yeah, so last year I went to Paleo FX in Austin, and actually this year I'm going again. And I think you're going to be going too. Yes, right? That's my first time. Yeah, and I, ever since I discovered paleo, and I thought that this was like the best thing ever. Oh, wow. So I wanted to share with everybody. And as you know, there's a lot of people out there who need help, who don't necessarily know where to get the help. Right. So when I got to Paleo FX,
the Primal Blueprint people were there, and we were talking about the health coaching certificate and things like that. So that's what got me interested in it. I'm sure you'll see them when you're in Paleo FX this year also. And the documentary, it was after watching a whole bunch of documentaries. Like I said, starting with Fast, Sick, and Nearly Dead. I was like, oh, wow, a lot of this content is so awesome. But some of it is actually really boring. What if I could make a documentary by myself that would be awesome and not boring? So I had a camera. I just started doing something.
That's amazing. And I saw that in the little preview that you are following two ladies who's using the paleo diet to better their own health.
Yeah. So I basically went on Facebook and I found these two ladies who needed help with losing weight, getting on a paleo diet. And I took a documentary film class, how to make a documentary, and I just went for it. I didn't realize that you need a crew of like 5, 10, 15, 20 people. I went on Craigslist and found an assistant for free. I just went for it. And I was definitely way over my head in terms of what I needed to get done. But things kind of turned out not as the way that I imagined, just because, I didn't really have the resources that I needed. Because documentaries take like hundreds of thousands of dollars to make. Right. And obviously I didn't have that money, the budget to do it all by myself. So it's getting finished right now. It'll be out in the next couple months.
Oh, wow.
It's shortened. I wanted it to be more like a feature, like a 75-minute documentary, but it's now more like a 35. But hey, it's getting done. So
it's a good start.
That's a good start. Maybe down the road,
right?
When I have more resources, I could do another one.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I can't wait. Yeah, can't wait. When it's out, you have to let us know.
Definitely.
Yeah.
My picture is all over it, so you'll see.
Okay. So should we actually delve into some questions from the readers?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, so let me see what we have here. So actually, we received quite a few questions from our I Heart Umami subscribers, and I try to categorize them into a few categories. So, I think we would like to hear, opinions, from the health coach, and also, of course, your personal experience, and see where we can draw some inspiration for our own individual life. The first thing, actually, I constantly receive a lot from my readers. They basically said that it's really, really difficult for them to get organic produce, or sometimes even hard to get fresh vegetables in their area. So I get an impression that as long as if they can find organic meat, it's impossible for them to follow a paleo diet. What do you think about that?
I think it's actually a lot easier than they think it is.
Yeah, and why is that?
Well, let's talk about meat for a second.
Okay.
So let's say you're used to eating too much bread or whatever, okay? And, the paleo protocol says that you need to go find some grass-fed meat.
Right.
And pasture-raised eggs, pasture-raised chicken.
Right.
If you think about it, and I've heard varying opinions on this, is that I would rather eat non-organic meat than a donut.
True.
Right? So
True.
If you got to start somewhere, and to eat non-organic meat, it's still better than eating a donut, in my opinion.
Right.
Or eating a lot of bread. And if you start from there, then you can move upwards to, grass-fed meat and all the high-quality stuff that a lot of people are selling these days. But, start small. If you're waiting for the perfect opportunity to start, you're never going to start. And I'm very guilty of that myself. A lot of times, not just eating, but in various things in life, I'm going, well, I'm waiting for the right opportunity. I'm waiting for the right time. And then years go by. I'm like, I'm still waiting for the right time. So even if you start a little bit, it's still better than nothing.
True.
And in terms of, like, say, organic fruits and vegetables, you don't really have to get organic everything if you can't afford it or you can't find it. There is a list called the Dirty Dozen. I don't know if you heard of it.
No, I don't. I don't know. I've never heard of that before.
So if you Google the term Dirty Dozen, it'll tell you the 12 most pesticide-used fruits and vegetables.
Okay.
And for example, apple, they use a lot of pesticides on apple. They use a lot of pesticides on peaches. So as much as possible, try to get organic apples and peaches.
Got it.
But there's also ones that, even if they're not organic, they're okay. Like, for example, bananas, avocados. I think it's because they have thick skins. So once you get to the meat, it's not as bad.
Right.
So right before our call, I went on this website called organic.org. And the Dirty Dozen, let's see, 12 most contaminated: peaches, apples, sweet bell pepper, celery, nectarines, strawberries, cherries, pears, imported grapes, spinach, lettuce, potatoes. And then they also have 12 least contaminated: onions, avocados, sweet corn frozen, pineapples, mango, asparagus, sweet peas frozen, kiwi fruit, bananas, cabbage, broccoli, papaya. So if you're buying non-organic, I would stick with the ones that are least contaminated. That's my advice for that.
True. And then usually I try to go to, if you have a local, like the weekend farm.
Farmer's market? Yeah.
Yes, farmer's market. Thank you. I lost my train of thought there. The farmer's market there, usually you can find a lot of more cheap produce. And then, it's, whenever I grocery shop, I don't really think about, pay that much attention to where is actually, am I buying this meat completely organic, or is this produce completely organic? I try to buy from more reputable grocery stores, and then I try to look at the meat quality, Sometimes you can't really get all organic stuff all the time, so I try to just see, the color, and then, where the meat is coming from. Maybe ask a little more questions from your butchers. And I know quite a few people, like my father-in-law, they live in Montana. They actually hunt their own deer and buffalo.
That'd be so awesome.
That is awesome. I never joined him. It's a little bit too wildlife for me. But I know they just come back with an entire, deer, and then they butcher them and then put it in the freezer for themselves. So I think that's also a solution. I mean, if you live nearby, wildlife, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you and I live in big cities, so there's a lot of resources for fruits and vegetables. So we're really never going to go hungry.
Right.
There's a lot of farmers markets, and in Montana, I've always joked about the fact that we're never going to be perfect because we don't live in Montana. That's like kind of the one saying that I have. And I don't know why I said that, because I've never actually been to Montana. But I think it's because I live in LA and there's smog everywhere. So even if you try to be perfect, the smog is going to mess you up anyway. And unless I go live a rural life in Montana with no smog, nothing's going to be perfect. So you just have to do the best you can in terms of what you can control.
Right.
And I obviously don't choose to go live in Montana, so I take that risk.
True. And then I think you brought up a really good point in the beginning that, it's a matter of choice, right? Between a slice of deep fried, donut, for example, and then also just a regular piece of chicken breast, between the two, although this meat is now organic, when you're hungry, it's still a better choice. To go with the protein than this deep fried high sugar content that gives you instant insulin boost, but you're going to get sugar crash really quickly. And you're going to feel hungry very sooner too. So what happens is that you're going to eat even more stuff and add more calories to yourself.
Oh, for sure. I can attest to that.
Great. And let me see what's the next question. Oh, this is a lady, Simone. She actually brought out a very interesting question. She said she has successfully lost a lot of weight by eating paleo, but she feel like she hit a plateau that she wants to drop 2 more kilos, but she feel like it just stopped there, and she doesn't know what to do. Have you run into a question from maybe your clients before?
A lot of people hit plateaus because the first few months it's easy to lose all the excess. The last 2 kilos or 5 pounds is really always the hardest. I struggle with that myself. But I think of it in really 2 ways. One is maybe your body just is done losing weight and you've lost a bunch of weight already. So be happy with what you have and don't worry about it so much, because when you're stressing out, your body actually refuses to lose weight. So there are studies that show that when you are stressed, your body can sense the stress, and your body basically says, well, if you're stressed, you must not be eating because you don't have food for the next X number of days. There's no way I'm going to lose the extra fat. So stress definitely causes you to retain the excess body fat. And 2, if you really, really, really want to lose those extra couple pounds or couple kilos, I would say cut out even more carbs. And then I say that very carefully because I don't know if this person, has already cut out a bunch of carbs. But I think eating a little bit more high quality fats and cutting out a few more carbs, like if you're having a couple sweet potatoes, maybe cut down to 1. So, those things definitely help out a little bit.
Help a little bit. And I also think sleep is your sleeping quality. Your sleep quality is also very, very important. Like, the person is getting enough sleep at night, right?
I used to be able to get away with not sleeping too much, but now, and
right.
I always tell people that I want to go out at night. I'm like, no, I'm an old man now. I just want to go to sleep.
Me too.
Because I have to get up at 5 in the morning to go to work.
Oh,
so,
wow.
Like last night, I got like 8.5 hours of sleep. The night before, nice. Like 9 hours of sleep. That's the advantage of living by myself. But yeah, for last couple of weeks, I've been traveling for work. So the sleep hasn't been as consistent because when you're not sleeping in your own bed, it's kind of funny. And I definitely do feel that when I'm not sleeping as well, I tend to eat more bad food.
Carby stuff. Right.
Because I'm like, oh, I'm sleep deprived. That sandwich and that dessert looks so good. Let me just eat it right now. And as I'm eating it, I'm like, oh, I'm eating bad food, but I can't stop.
Oh, wow.
And that's the lack of sleep is definitely impairing your judgment.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I mean, you bring up a great point. Sleep is, in my mind, one of the most important things you could do for your body.
Absolutely. I mean, I tried once actually. I try to maintain my regular gym schedule. So I go to the gym 3 times per week. And there was once that a night before I didn't sleep well. And the next day I jumped into the gym. And some regular routines that I was able to complete previously, I couldn't even stand straight. And my whole entire head just feel like I'm having a flu. What happened, So it's actually, that hit me really hard. It's like, wow, actually, to get enough good night's sleep is so important. It affects your appetite, everything you do the next day. as well.
Yeah. And if I don't get enough sleep, I sometimes don't go to the gym. And I used to be very hard on myself, and I say, "Oh my God, it's my own fault. I didn't sleep last night as much as I should have, and I should still go to the gym because that's what I need to do." But I've learned to step back a little bit and say, "Okay, if I don't go to the gym today, I can always go tomorrow and sleep well tonight and go tomorrow and have a good session." Because I'm also afraid of injuring myself if I'm not 100% awake.
True. So let's see. Another question is to me, I feel like it's a little bit in terms of your environment surrounding, and then also slash a little bit. I think a mental note that how in terms of thinking of this big picture that why you are following this diet. So what happened, I hear people say that a lot, is like, I go to work and there are so many desserts, cookies laying around in my office.
Yeah.
Or, where I work in my company actually provides lunch for us. And usually it's very, very carby. Sandwiches or pasta with tons of cheesy sauce over it. So it's actually very hard for them to resist those food, surrounded by us. And then, so what do you feel about that? I mean, is it the solution is just to make sure you do meal prep and then bring your lunch with you? I mean, what do you usually do about it?
I mean, that's the easy answer, right? Is to meal prep and bring your own food and not be tempted by all the other food.
Right.
But then also it's not so practical because all your coworkers are eating together while you're kind of like eating separately. So you're not very sociable in that sense either.
Right.
So I mean, I used to work at a job where lunch was provided. And obviously, when there's free food, you kind of gravitate towards it too. But when there's there's sandwiches with meat in the middle, I just try to just eat the meat and not worry about the bread, not worry about the pasta, and the bagels in the morning. It's very, very hard to resist. But I think of it this way: and I'm a pretty lucky in terms of the fact that if I eat those things, it's not like I'm going to get sick. There's a lot of people who are very intolerant, and they're going to get sick.
Right.
So I'm not talking about them. But for me, what I think about is, even though I'm not getting sick, when I'm eating those bagels or pastas or sandwiches or whatever for breakfast and lunch, I have super duper food coma. So I can't concentrate for the rest of the afternoon because I'm so tired. And then I got to go get 2 extra cups of coffee just to stay awake. When I don't do that, when I'm eating pretty clean paleo, I have energy for the rest of the day.
Right.
So that's the way I think about it. If I want to be productive at work, I tell myself, okay, well, look, I have so much work to do. And I can't be non-productive. I'm not going to eat that bread. That's the way I think about it.
True. I mean, sometimes I go to meetings as well, and then, like you said, the sandwich is the whole display. She bet is there right behind you. But, in order to just feel like you're a part of the group instead of pulling out my own lunchbox.
Exactly.
Right. I just sort of just go straight to the, the meat, the vegetable, or the salad part. Right, and then skip all the Diet Coke or even orange juice, and just go straight to drink tea.
Yeah, I mean, I've been drinking a lot of tea. I've been drinking too much coffee for a while.
Right.
But I stopped drinking soda for a long time, and if I have the soda craving, I just drink club soda or sparkling water because I like those bubbles.
Yeah. And then I don't know, if one of our readers, if your office, has a kitchen and a fridge, I usually like to just when I do my weekly grocery shopping, I like to bring some extra food to the office.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps it's unsweetened coconut yogurt if you are sensitive to dairy. And then I throw in a few bananas, blueberries, and then you can just make a quick breakfast parfait right there.
Yeah.
So that usually, I find it very helpful as well. It's just something that maybe canned tuna or salmon, or even some pre-made chicken breast.
Yeah, and I always have snacks in my drawer in my office in case I get really, really hungry.
Right.
But a lot of times when you're hungry, you're actually really thirsty. So when I'm actually hungry, when I think I'm hungry, first thing I'll do is just drink a bottle of water or drink a glass of water. And I'm like, okay, well, am I still hungry? Yes. Okay, maybe I should pull out some snacks. But if you're not hungry anymore, then you know that you're really thirsty. And a lot of times when you're working hard in the office, forget to drink water too.
True. That's very true. That's very true. Let's delve into. Do you want to talk about this one particular lady? She asked about. She said she does CrossFit, and she wants to improve her body composition, and so she wants to figure out how much protein a person should take. I feel like this is a very technical issue to me because, I actually never thought of this question, but I found it very interesting. Have you heard of any information about this before?
No, I've read a lot about protein intake, and I defer those things to Mark Sisson and Chris Kresser, who are the scientific people in the paleo community, and Rob Wolf. So I did a little bit of research. I've always heard that 1 gram of protein per pound of weight, and I looked at it a little bit more this morning. And let's see here. Oh, my computer just decided not to work. But I went to Mark's Daily Apple. It's a website that I go to a lot. I just did a search for how much protein you should be eating. And I pulled it up, but now it's blanking on me. But basically, anywhere between 0.75 and 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight.
Right, and then I think that's what she mentioned here as well. And then let's see. And her second question is, she says she has problem to eat solid food after workout.
Me too.
Really? I've never, every single time after workout, I am just starving. And so this is great. I mean, you can relate.
So I remember one time I did a workout. This was a long time ago. And across the street from the gym was a really good Chinese food place. And right after workout, this is even before I discovered paleo, it's like 10, 12 years ago, I went and ate a huge bowl of noodles, maybe 5 minutes after working out. And that did not work for me. I won't tell you the details. But basically, after a huge, intense workout, all I want to do is drink water and let my body calm down a little bit.
Right.
And I know people, and I belong to a running group here, and we run, and then right after running, people start drinking beer because it's a socialized group too. Right. And I'm just like, give me some water. Give me all the water you have, because I can't drink beer and eat solid food and have pizza and all that stuff after working out, even if I wasn't paleo.
Right.
So on top of that, if you're doing CrossFit or high intensity workout, you don't want to eat for a couple hours afterwards, because this is exactly when you are producing the most growth hormone in your body. And you definitely don't want to slow that down. So when your body is revved up, supercharged after a huge workout, you need to just drink water and calm down. That's what I basically tell people.
That's actually very interesting because you do mention a very interesting point. And sometimes, maybe I didn't realize I'm already doing that. It's just, I just feel like after workout, I have this huge bottle of water and I want to keep drinking it. And then on my way home in my commute, I want to make sure I have enough water to drink as well. I guess it's because during the workout, actually we lose so much water content in the body during sweat. Yeah. And do you add any like a protein powder? I mean, to your like a sports drink? Do you do that?
I have protein powder sitting in my kitchen, but I don't really use it all that often. I find that as long as I'm eating enough of the right foods, I don't really need the protein powder. But sometimes I'll use it.
I see. So, and I just want to clarify one information here. Are you familiar with those wheat protein powder? I guess wheat is basically it's not paleo. Is that right?
So whey protein powder comes from dairy, right? So technically it's not paleo. One of the problems with all those supplements is that a lot of people make pretty low quality supplements. So I used to take a lot of supplements, I buy it from GNC or whatever, and I used to think that it was so great, but I realized after talking to a lot of experts that, and even people who used to sell supplements, is that a lot of times the quality of the supplements is just not there. They make whatever based on the cheapest ingredients they could find, and then they sell it. So I think there's also a gray area in terms of dairy. There's a lot of people that say dairy is okay. Like, for example, Mark Sisson, when he calls it the primal diet, it's actually high fat, including dairy, high quality dairy, obviously. So in terms of whey, you have to find the right kind. And it's going to be a lot more expensive. So you have to weigh the choices between, okay, do I buy this and pay a lot for it, or do I not buy this at all and just eat, solid foods?
True.
There would be one place that I would buy whey from, and that's wildfoods.co. I met them in Paleo FX last year, and they sell them basically the highest quality ingredients for coffee, protein, anything, tea. And, they're not cheap, but when I buy from them, I definitely feel the difference.
I see. And it's called wildfoods.co.
Yeah. Okay. And they were actually a sponsor on my podcast before.
I see.
And they're really cool people. They're actually based out of Austin, and they're going to start opening a storefront in the next couple of months.
Good.
So I'm not saying this only because they were a sponsor on my podcast. I'm actually saying it because I use their products a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's, we all have, certain things like, for example, a certain type of coconut oil or ghee, clarified, bottled, or even coconut aminos that I use in the kitchen. And whenever I write a recipe, I just can't live without.
Yeah.
And it's just basically a staple things that we all have at home.
Yeah, I mean, and for example, a lot of people can't give up their coffee, and I'm pretty much one of them also. But at a certain point, I was drinking a little too much coffee, so I took a break because I didn't want to be one that's like, oh, I'm so addicted, I can't even give it up. But anyway, I had their coffee, and then after having their coffee, I can't even go back to Starbucks anymore.
Oh my goodness. Now I'm so intrigued. I want to taste it. I hope they will serve me coffee when I'm there this May.
Yeah, for sure. And I bought my own coffee bean grinder, and God, I feel like a coffee snob now. But there's definitely a difference in quality, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Quality is so important. Like the other day, I went to Whole Foods and then I wanted to buy vitamin D pills because I feel like I'm just sitting in the office daily. I'm not getting enough sunlight, especially on the East Coast here. And I started reading into bottles. A lot of them actually are filled with vegetable oils. That I was just like, this is very interesting. The bottle looks so beautiful from a well-known name brand, but the ingredient actually differs.
Yeah.
So I had to actually really look into the ingredients and also the company, and before I actually make my own decision. It's actually not very easy.
Yeah, and that goes back to your original question of this can get expensive. So you have to pick and choose when you're buying the higher quality ingredients.
Right.
You know, what are you willing to live without, right?
Right.
So is whey protein or vitamin D, is that a supplement or is it essential? Is it just a bonus or is it something that you really, really need, right?
True.
So when your money is tight, you have to think like that.
Right. Right. But I think the bottom line is try to eat real food, non-processed food. I think that's basically a general rule of thumb. Yeah, without going into too much details and driving yourself nuts.
Yeah,
That's my opinion.
And I know most of your readers are women, but as a guy, I really, really hate eating salads.
Oh, really? Oh, no.
We actually, I had a discussion with a friend the other day, I think it might have been yesterday, where my friend was like, well, yeah, I love eating a nice salad during lunch and whatever, and I'm going, I would hate eating a salad during lunch because I just really, really prefer warm foods. When I'm eating a meal. When I'm eating a cold salad, it doesn't feel like warm food. So the way I get around it is I just blend the hell out of it. So I make green smoothies with my vegetables.
But that's cold too. That's not warm.
Yeah, but instead of a meal, now it's a drink.
It's a drink. So you find your way around to make it work.
Yeah, I always try to find my way around to make things work. I mean, there are just some things that I won't eat, even if it's really good for me. But you know, in general, I pretty much eat everything. If you stuck it in front of me, I would eat it, but I won't really like voluntarily go seek it out. But you know, I know that vegetables are good for me, and I really need to eat it. But it's so much easier for me to drink it instead of eating it, so I just do that.
True. I mean, one thing I actually still want to try is making more liver. Incorporate more liver into my diet. But every single time when I'm at the grocery store, I look at that, just a little slimy to me. I'm not quite sure what to do about that. But
I'm sure you're a liver expert.
Well, my mom makes really good liver soup back in Taiwan. So maybe I need to call her and figure out what to do about it.
Well, you know what people do is sometimes they buy the fresh liver, the grass-fed liver, and they chop it into like little dinky pieces and they freeze it. And then they take it like a pill.
Oh, wow.
So that's how you get around it. Like when there's little chunky, small pieces, you just pop it in your mouth with some water and then that's it.
Interesting.
What I do is if I'm eating liver, I just stir fry with some onions. Or I try to put it into little pieces and blend it into my hamburger when I make it. And I don't really taste it either.
I see. You find a real way around to make it work too. Right.
And there's liver pills, I'm sure.
But I still trust my own, cooking a little bit more than spend money to buy a bottle and then it goes into all the, this wonky, thing going on. Like I'm not sure where the source is, and it might be really expensive as well. Sorry. So maybe one last question here that I'm not sure actually if it's a question actually directly addressed to you. Maybe it's in a future episode that when I maybe find more nutritionists or specifically toward women and hormone profile. So, but in general, a big question is that in your experience, do you find that say if you have a client in her early 20s or 30s compared to a client maybe in her 40 or going into 50s, do you give them different nutrition advice? I mean, I know definitely they have slightly different needs because, you know, metabolism level is different. The hormone level is different because you're different in different age groups. Mm-hmm. But do you, in general, provide very different nutrition advice? Or something?
I mean, obviously, somebody in their 20s and 30s, mm-hmm. especially women, are going to be a lot different than 40s and 50s. Mm-hmm. So I don't claim to be an expert in that area, so I'm going to refer you to somebody else that I know.
Okay. Okay.
There is, and her name is Maria Claps, C-L-A-P-S, and she specializes in women who are in 40s and 50s. Mm-hmm. And her website is nourishandflourishhealth.com. And it's funny because yesterday, I'm actually on her mailing list, and yesterday she actually just sent out an email saying something about, are you 40-something with hormone issues and things like that? And so I was like, okay, well, this is perfect for your audience. So I'll forward you the email when we're done here.
Absolutely. But, that's actually very interesting. It's like, you know, when I was in my late 20s or even early 30s, I certainly didn't pay much attention at all. But now, actually, I'm actually in my late 30s. Mm-hmm. Me too. So, really, you look so young. So I'm actually in my late 30s. So, you know, so when this lady, let me see her first name, I think it's Lauren. When she brought up, yes, Lauren, when she brought up this question, actually, it was like, oh, very good question. And actually, I need to think about it. And I usually just have a thing that, you know, I don't usually pay attention until I see my OBGYN doctor once a year. Yeah. So, but you do notice a different change when you are, you know, delving into a 40 and 40 plus year old age. So that's great. So I think we will definitely check out Maria Club's website and then see if we can find more information for Lauren here.
Good. And you know, I don't know everything, and I don't claim to know everything. And if you ever meet anybody that knows everything, run away.
Yeah, but it's very good to, you know, hear a different opinion here. That, you know, it's the first time that I'm sharing with all my readers, and it's a part of the reason that I want to just get more people on board to just provide different opinions and suggestions here that to a wide variety of subscribers I have on the blog. Yeah. So if people have more questions that they want to get in touch with you, where can I send them?
Well, my website is discoveringpaleo.org, and actually I'm in the middle of revamping that right now. So if they want to just get a hold of me directly, my temporary email is discoveringpaleo and then the number 1 at gmail.com. Okay. And that'll change later, but I have a lot of stuff in the pipeline that I'm working on.
Okay, awesome. And let's see, maybe we can just, do you have anything else you want to address?
The only other thing that I wanted to share is you had talked about whether it's easy to give up bread and sugar and all that stuff.
Yes.
What I wanted to say is that if you're an elite person with a six-pack and big muscles and lose all the weight and whatever, you're eating a lot of bread and nothing is affecting you, you're probably not online looking for ways to feel better. So what I'm trying to say is, whatever you did to get you here obviously wasn't enough, or else you wouldn't be searching for answers, right? People who are perfectly healthy aren't online going, okay, well, how do I get a better diet going?
Right.
So one, the mentality has to change. You know, the fact that whatever got you here isn't necessarily the right answer means that you have to be open to suggestions, recommendations, learning experiences, and whatever. Right. So, you know, when we talk about the fact that, oh, I can't give up bread, I can't give up this and that, I can't live without. You're really saying that those things have a control over you so big that you are basically chained to it. Now, if you think about it that way, that's really not healthy, right? So I don't want to compare bread to like cocaine or anything like that, but people have research and said that sugar is more addicting than cocaine. And so you have to be careful of what you say to yourself, like, I can't do this because I'm so addicted to it. So that is even more reason that you need to think about ditching it.
Right.
And there's a lot of people that I've asked on how to quit bread, how to quit sugar, and every single one of them just said cold turkey. So if I were to advise somebody right now to say, okay, I want to quit bread or sugar or both, or, you know, having one is better than having none, I would say, okay, whatever bread that you have in the fridge or in your kitchen right now, you can eat it, finish it, enjoy it, but don't buy any more. And when you first start the no bread challenge or whatever you want to call it, it's going to suck. Your body is going to say, where's my bread? I'm addicted to bread.
Right.
Where's my sugar? I'm addicted to sugar. And you're going to feel like crap for a week, maybe even 2. But once that's done, you're going to feel like $1,000,000. I have people that tell me, I never really knew what feeling good felt like until I felt good.
Wow.
Because they never knew it. They've been eating bread and sugar all their life, and they just thought that feeling bleh is actually normal. So when you're in that little funk withdrawals time period, you're going to think the world's going to come to an end sometimes. And you're going to like, oh, this sucks. I'm never going to do this. But everybody gets through it. Some people get through it in 3 days. Some people get through it in 12, whatever.
A week or 2, right.
But, you know, if you really want to change, your mentality has to change. And a lot of people say, well, you know what? Eating the food isn't the hardest part. It's retraining your mind to eat the right food. That's the hardest part.
Right. And then the idea of actually you're relying on certain food that you can actually let go. It's actually, it's just like, you know, it feels a little bit, you know, you're relying too much on that one particular thing to drive your daily activity and energy level. That sounds actually a little bit not quite balanced to me as well.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. That's a really great point. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Always have food around, because when you don't have proper food around, that's when you get in trouble. So when I'm traveling for work or for pleasure or whatever, that's when I get in the most trouble, because I'm driving for 6 hours to from here to San Francisco.
Right.
And I'm starving, and I see McDonald's, and I'm like, oh, maybe I'll just have a burger.
Right.
Actually, you know what? I don't like McDonald's. But like, you know, In-N-Out, Panda Express, whatever. I'm just so starving that my mind's like, okay, you know what? I just have to have something. So now I try to bring some snacks with me in the car, so I don't have to give in to that temptation.
Right.
It's same thing goes in the office. If you have prepared a few meals in the office,
right,
you know, for the office, and you bring it to the office, it's a lot easier to eat your food than to go outside and then, you know, maybe you get something that you don't really enjoy or your body shouldn't have.
Absolutely. Yeah, I even make my own little like a protein bar that mixed with some, you know, dates and then like cacao powder to make it more chocolate flavor. I do that by myself, so it's very easy to just blend everything together and some nuts, you know, and just make it into a little cubes, and you can just pop one maybe right after workout to give you a little sugar boost, but it's
Yeah, I
a
did that too.
good type of sugar. Because I find that, even if I go to some fancy grocery store, they have those beautiful granola bars, and you look into the content, whoa, it's seriously not that great. So very often people think they eat those bars, they can replace a meal. But a lot of the time, that's not the case at all. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I used to make my own granola bars too, and I ended up getting a little too lazy. But there's actually some bars out there that have only a couple ingredients you can pronounce, and that's the key. Is that when I look at protein bars or whatever, if I look at the label and there's ingredients that I can't pronounce or I don't understand, that's when I just try to stay away.
Right, definitely. My doctor says if there's a label on an ingredient that you cannot pronounce in English, that's probably you should avoid.
Yeah.
Okay, so we want to thank Ken for his time and for spending almost an hour here with us and answering all sorts of questions. And it's certainly not easy. And so if any of you are listening there, we appreciate your time, spending time here with us as well. And if you have any questions, you want me to relay to Ken later on, or maybe for another future episode that I can invite more nutritionists or health coaches to come to the blog, please send it to hello@iheartumami.com, and I would do my due diligence and share all your questions and to all the coaches. So thanks so much, Ken. And then
You're welcome.
I will see you in May in Paleo FX.
Yeah, definitely.
And just try that amazing coffee to see what's going on there.
You will not be disappointed.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.